Hey everybody, I'm CJ, and a bunch of years ago I did tech support for actually, you know what? I don't think I even want to say what business this was, but basically I did tech support. I worked in a call center, and I basically where I started was on the phones, but where I ultimately landed was doing support chat. So, calls would come in and then later chats would come in. And usually in these call centers, your average tech support agent, if he's doing chats, as I was, I can't speak for everybody, but my average at any given time, I probably had 10 support chats going at any given moment. The minimum was five. I think the max I ever had going at any given moment was 50. But basically, that was the job. Somebody has problems with their service. They sign into support chat. They talk to me, and 9 times out of 10, I would get them fixed up, and everyone would go on with life, and that would pretty much be the end of it. There would be instances where you have to open a ticket, and then the higher level technicians can take a look and see what's going on with the service, because maybe you even can fix it yourself, but fixing it yourself at that moment, it would just take too much time. Too much time. So you would kick it upstairs to the big boys, and this is their job. This is their entire reason for being, to do the stuff that maybe you can do it, maybe you can't do it, but no matter how you look at it, you don't have time to do it. And so pretty much that was the job. And part of that job was helping other support techs, right? This was a pretty technical job, and so especially whenever you're first getting started, you don't really have a whole lot of experience. I mean, yeah, you've been trained, but you don't really have the experience of working with the system, knowing what it is, how to fix things. I mean, you've got like the basic foundation of what you're going to need, but you just don't have a whole lot of experience yet. You don't have a whole lot of knowledge yet. And so part of my job, once I did get some seasoning and some experience and all that, part of my job, as if I was so special, I really wasn't. Everybody did this for everybody else. But the point is, you're supposed to share what you know. So especially with new hires, someone new shows up, you know for a fact that there's a lot of shit that they don't know how to do. So you would just kind of lean over, talk them through certain things. Yeah, this is how you do this. This is how you do that. Then you just go on with life. That is a legit part of the job. And I will remember this for the rest of my life. There was a guy who had just started up, and he insisted on doing everything the hardest, most difficult, most damaging, most destructive, most technical way he could possibly find. He would go so far as to nuke a customer's entire service and then rebuild it from the ground up. And I would see him doing that, and I'd be like, "No, guy, you don't have to do all of that. That's going to take, you're going to be here all day doing that. Here, just disable this one little feature right here. Boom, there it is, fixed." Right? You don't have to destroy the entire fucking thing just to fix it. You know what? Maybe sometimes you do, but 99% of the time, there's always going to be some really easy, really unobtrusive, and very effective way of correcting the problem so that the customer gets their service back. You can end your support call, your support chat, whatever you got going. You can end that right now. And by the way, as you do it, you're doing less damage this way. So literally there is no reason whatsoever to do things the way that you're doing it. And eventually this guy learned, he caught on, and he somewhat started doing things the easier way, in this case, the way that actually works and doesn't cause extra problems down the road. And where he is these days, what he's doing, I am in no position to say. What I can say is that I think we've all been there. We've all seen someone doing things the absolute dumbest fucking possible way. And that's kind of where I am right now with Kevin Smith. He did this interview with Variety, all this Masters of the Universe revelation that's been this brouhaha that's been going on the past few days. And I figured we were going to get to this point sooner or later. I wasn't expecting it to be this soon, you understand. But I figured it was going to get to this point. I figured at the absolute longest, like 10 years from now, when Kevin Smith is still getting grief about what he did with He-Man, maybe then he'd have a meltdown about it. I figured that was the absolute longest. The absolute shortest, I figured best case scenario, if he has no patience whatsoever, we're looking at a month from now. I'm going to be circling back to this topic, and he's going to say something that is so out of line, so rude, so I don't really believe in the idea of unforgivable, but unforgivable has a kind of a meaning in the lexicon, so that's the meaning I'm using. He's going to say something that is so unforgivable, there's no coming back from this. And if you told me on Saturday that we were going to be here on Monday, I would have called you a liar, which maybe would have been unforgivable. But nevertheless, I would not have believed you, and yet that's where we are. That's where we are. Kevin Smith is basically, at this point, cussing out the fans. And I'm not even gonna just mince words here. This is Kevin Smith. I mean, there is a context to this, but nevertheless, I mean, this is the pull quote. You really fucking think Mattel Television, who hired me and paid me money, wants to do a fucking Masters of the Universe show without He-Man? Grow the fuck up, man. And there you have it. That is Kevin Smith. Basically, people have said that the entire Masters of the Universe Revelation series is a middle finger to the fans. And you know what? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I tend to think that's a little bit hyperbolic. I mean, guys, let's not oversell this, you know? But it's like at the same time, there was definitely no respect paid to fans whatsoever. Whether this wasn't like intended to be a middle finger is open for debate. What is not open for debate is that this isn't even a middle finger. I mean, this is just a bunch of F words. And I mean, seriously, it's 2 sentences and he uses the F word 3 times. All right. It's, what are you doing? But on top of all that, he goes after the fans. And it's just like, I'm looking at this. And what we're seeing here is an insecure man who is playing defense, the likes of which you cannot imagine. Look, hand on heart, I think Kevin Smith thought that people were going to fall in love with Masters of the Universe Revelation. They were going to just adore everything that he did with this show, every creative decision that he made. And it truly never crossed his mind that he was going to be facing the kind of reaction that he's been facing. And I think that's a big reason why Kevin Smith's response to this has been one fuck up after the next. I mean, this really is turning into a carnival show. I mean, this is just sad. And he's playing defense. He's trying to fix a situation. And the thing is, the guy is so Hollywood now. He is so embedded in that system that he has completely forgotten where he came from. And this is the proof. This quote right here is the proof of the fact that Smith, he's, in a personal sense, I don't mean in a creative sense, but in a personal sense, he has just lost it. All right. This effortless or seemingly effortless connection that he always had to fans in general and his own fans in particular. That was the guy's brand all through the 90s. And I would even say through the early part of the 2000s. This was a guy that understood how to speak the fan language. And it's not like he's done so much stuff, so many movies and so many blockbuster successes since the mid-2000s that he has any right to be this far up Hollywood's collective ass. And yet, here's where we find ourselves. This is a guy who, let's face it, he talks raw. He's really not as famous as he thinks he is. And he is so mentally invested in the Hollywood system that he has completely forgotten how easy this problem is for him to fix. He is trying to do this the hardest, fucking most destructive way possible because he doesn't know anything else anymore. And the thing is, it's not that he never knew. He used to know. He did great damage control whenever he backed out of Green Hornet, and fans kind of went after him for that. And then when he announced he was doing Clerks 2, fans really went after him for that. His defense of his own actions through that, I'm not going to say that's a masterclass, because I don't think it was. I don't believe that it was a masterclass, but it was nevertheless speaking to fans on their level, at least somewhat, and it's hard to believe that this is the same guy, because look at this. He's doing this in the absolute, like I say, the most destructive way, the most difficult way, most complicated way. And I mean, this is like scorched earth. I mean, that's pretty much where we're getting at this point. And the thing is, it never needed to go this far, okay? What we're seeing here, this is the hard way, okay? This is the destructive way. All Kevin Smith had to say is something that's a lot easier than this, a lot less profane than this, and by the way, a lot more fan-oriented than this. All he needed to say, if he had to say anything at all, which I don't think he did, but if he did, if he had to say something, if he had to shoot his fucking mouth off again, what he could have said is, hey guys, look, I understand how this looks, okay? I'm one of you, remember? Guys, there's an entire story that's going to get told here, and you're only seeing just a really tiny part of it. This is the opening part of it. So just bear with me, trust me, everything is going to turn out just fine in the end. You wait and see. You mark my words and read them back to me later. By the time I finish up with Masters of the Universe Revelation, you're going to totally understand what the plan was all along, and there will be no complaints, Just something like that, something real glad-handing, something that kind of calms everyone's nerves, makes vague promises in the undefined future about some kind of story that may or may not ever happen. You're basically diffusing an explosive situation before it really gets out of control. Now, we're beyond that, okay? What I just said, that little recommendation that I just made, that isn't possible anymore. That's not going to work anymore. Would have worked, though, on Friday or on Saturday. Either of those days, it would have worked. I can't say swimmingly, but there would be, I promise you, there would be some part of the fan base that would be mollified by that. I'm not going to say 50%, but some percentage of the fan base would have been, if Smith had gone out there and said, guys, there's more story coming, just calm down, everything's okay. I'm not finished yet, all right? Just wait, and you're going to see where things are going. If he had just said that, at least for the moment, the situation that we're facing now would have been at least somewhat tamped down. If we're at 100% right now, where we would be could be something like 60%, 70%. Now, Kevin Smith can say whatever he likes. The people at Netflix have told me that this is great for the show and they don't care about Rotten Tomatoes. Well, you know who does care about the fans? You know who does want to keep this gravy train going? Mattel. They absolutely care. And right now, what we have is a situation of people saying, I'm not going to buy any more He-Man merchandise. Do you seriously think Mattel doesn't care about that? You're out of your mind. And they might actually be very open to the idea right now of if the situation we're facing right now is 100%, maybe they would prefer a situation that's 70% or 60% or, dare I dream, 50%. This negative reaction, if that could be cut in half, I think there are a lot of people at Mattel that would love that right now. And it would, guys, when it comes to dealing with people, look, I'm not exactly a people person. I don't know if any of you have ever gotten that impression, but I'm really not. But when it comes to dealing with people, and especially with their outrage, just remember some certain key bullet points. Number 1, don't apologize. Number 2, stay calm. Number 3, avoid getting angry yourself. Number 4, promise something in the future. Something that's better than right now, or something that puts right now into context, or something. Make a promise about the future, all right? Don't apologize, because that's an admission of error. Stay calm. don't use profanities, and make a promise about the future. Guys, it is not that difficult, right? How many of you have soothed some kind of big and angry confrontation with somebody just by being calm and being rational, level-headed, and making a promise about the future? How many times have all of us done that? Dozens of times, hundreds of times, thousands of times. It's something that we all do. And the fact that he's not even trying, wow. I mean, guys, I really don't like making hard and fast predictions about the future, but guys, I'm going to tell you something. If this ends up being the Rubicon that Kevin Smith crossed, don't be surprised, all right? So I at least wanted to throw all of that out there and just see what comes back to me. So anyway, that's that. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, make sure you're still subscribed, comment, like, and share this video because it really helps me out. Also, you can find me on Twitter at Cole Loves Comics.